Okay, we're recording this time. You guys don't know this, but I've actually recorded this video 3 times. The first time, I ended up talking for 2 hours, and it just ended up being way too long and convoluted. So I scrapped it. We're trying again. And then the second one, I got 30 minutes into the talk, and then I realized I didn't hit record. So I'm a little tired, which is actually probably a good thing because it means I'm probably not going to try to drag this on as much because I love to talk and I love to get into details about stuff. So welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk about what the inside of a competitive player's mind looks like, right? So as a Kill Team player, you yourself have probably either asked questions or answered questions of what do I do for XYZ game as XYZ Kill Team, right? And a lot of players will respond saying, well, okay, you got to look at the map and select TAC Ops. You need to think about what strats you're going to be using. You need to think about how you're going to be killing XYZ unit. And they'll talk about that. And all that information is really useful. But one thing that I think people get really hung up on is killing stuff. And killing stuff is fun. And it's great. And it can help you win games. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the game when you kill something. You can wipe out your opponent's kill team and still lose the game, for example. So it's really important to try and not focus on killing stuff and actually start thinking about how you're going to win the game, right? And when you get some games under your belt and you become a veteran player, or if you're a veteran player right now, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about when I show you what I'm about to show you. But as a competitive tournament player, when I look at a map for entering a tournament, I see this. Now, this is chaos, right? I don't expect anybody to understand this. And as a disclaimer, I also want to inform people that I don't make maps like this whenever I'm doing an event. I'm simply showing you what my brain is looking at when I look at a map. Okay? All of these things right here, I'm thinking about with my brain. Okay, this is what I see when I see this map. Okay, and this isn't going to be an intuitive thing, but once you get like really used to playing a team, you'll start seeing this when you play maps, and it's a little bit easier to visualize in TTS than it is in real life. But you could totally do this in real life too. I do it when I play my games in real life. So I have a tournament coming up on Sunday. Today is Wednesday right now, and this is the first match of my game. I'm going to be playing against an opponent on Secure. So I made a visualization of what I'm looking at for my map as a Star Striders player, right? So what I went and did is there's 2 teams on this board right here. There's a red Star Striders team and there's a blue Star Striders team. All that means is like I'm just visualizing where I'm going to be at the end of turn 1 with my team, depending on which zone I'm going to be in. Okay? So before we even talk about that, I just want to really highlight some stuff. Like when I'm going into a game, I tend to look at the map first, and I tend to look at like really big features of the map. So right off the bat, you can see that the red zone right here has a vantage point that is pretty insane, right? So if you look from right here, you're seeing like this area. You can kind of tilt your base off the side and kind of get into really deep right here. So that's what these lines are right here, is just kind of like the limits of their vision. And I drew this big rectangle box right here, to represent this being a death zone. This doesn't necessarily mean anything here dies, but it does mean it is vulnerable to being shot from a vantage right here. So this is a really dangerous spot to be in, and if your opponent has long-range blast weapons like a grenade launcher or a shredder or something of that manner, grouping up a whole bunch of guys right here is pretty dumb. You shouldn't do that, right? So right off the bat, we have like really big vantage points. We have 2 scramble pieces with 2 kind of close-ranged heavy pieces. So what I'm looking at right here is I'm looking at red side being the more defensive side. It's really hard to push into the spot because it kind of creates a funnel, either from this location. Obviously they could scramble across, but scramble once again limits their movement. And if they don't scramble, they either have to climb over the terrain, or they have to run around. Or you can just be Harlequins and just not give a fuck about anything. Yay. If you guys can't tell, I hate Harlequins. But I think everyone does, so it's fine. So anyways, looking at the blue side, we can tell that I think by and large, the blue is going to be the more offensive side just because they have more avenues of approach. You have a staging area right here, which is a pretty nice little pocket that kind of keeps you safe. I mean, the only real thing that somebody could do is like get on an advantage right here and kind of shoot down on you, which is definitely doable, but it's kind of awkward for the red player to get up here. They're safe from this area. They're safe from this side. They're safe from over here. They also, it's a little awkward for both players to get over on this side, but I would say this favors the blue player because the focal point of the red player side is going to be this defensive pocket. So it's going to be very unlikely that they're going to really enforce this side all that much, whereas blue player, you're going to have to risk the death zone, but once you get guys over here, you should be able to maintain control of this area because red player just doesn't really have the position to really like kind of contest this zone at all, outside of maybe just like a token force of like 1 or 2 guys. All right, so and then you have a pretty good staging area right here. You can contest this zone as I marked with the little blue icon right here. It's really easy for a blue operative just to run over and tap that. This is a very safe spot. Likewise, you have a door right here because I play with doors. I think it's insane to not play with doors and open, but that's just my opinion. So you can run out onto this objective and this objective. Obviously, this one's the easier one. So that's why I'm saying like this side is the more defensive side. This is the more offensive side. And for Star Strider specifically, I would say that the red side is massively preferred over the blue one, but I think that's just unique to their team. I think if you're playing a more aggressive team, the blue side's totally viable. So we'll move on from that. All right, so I've looked at the sides. Let's talk about attacker defender, right? So I want to pick defender on this side because I want to be red, right? So I'm going to be shooting for defender. Attacker, I don't think really does all that much. We're playing secure, so this is a flip mission with mission actions, but it's not loot. I think if you're playing a loot, there's a huge emphasis on getting first activation every turning point, just to try and grab objectives, because the objectives are a finite resource at that point. Whereas this one, it's just doing a mission action every turn to try and flip your opponents. I mean, I misspoke. You don't have to do it every turn, but you know what I mean? Trying holding onto yours and flipping your opponents. So it's not really that big a deal to get first turn. But it's still important. So moving on, we need to select warrants a trade. So I have gone and selected coordinate. This is +1 CP. I like this one. I don't think it's necessary, but I play a little bit fast and loose with my CP, and I think it gives me a little bit of a safe cushion for if I, need to do like a CP reroll or something. This is a comfort pick. I don't think this is necessary. Explore is 100% necessary, and I'll get into that. And Seize is another flex pick. I don't think it's that important, but I think it can come into play on like really crucial turns, like maybe the last turn or maybe on turn 2 if you want to just get in quickly and just like snap an objective. This is secure, so your opponent does have to do a mission action to take the objective. So it can be useful if you're playing another APL2 team, or your opponent, like, let's say you get initiative. You could do 3 APL on this guy and go like 7 inches out or whatever with him and move on, take the objective, and you now have this guy on the objective, flipped it with his 3 APL, and now your opponent with their dude right here has to kill this guy, this guy is going to be getting half damage because he's standing on an objective, and he has a Just a Scratch ability, and he has a 4-up save with Carapace Armor. He's really tough, and it's going to be hard for your opponent to kill him and flip the objective, unless your opponent's 3 APL, which, sad day if he is. So that kind of thing, right? So it can be useful to get Seize. A shout out is Course. So obviously, if I end up being Defender, either through my opponent making me Defender or for me winning the roll-off and choosing Defender, if I don't get that, we always have the option to use Course, and that just allows me to reroll the dice. So if, for example, my opponent rolls like a 2 and I roll a 1, I might be incentivized to use Coerce to try and get this side instead of Seize. We'll keep Coordinate and we'll keep Explore. I think a lot of players tend to lean towards Consideration, and I take that a lot on my Star Striders games, but I think as you become a more veteran Star Strider player, you kind of come to a realization where you actually don't really need this. The only time when you really need Consideration is if you're really wanting to take 2 grenades. I would say that's the only time, because that allows you to take both a Frag and Crack grenade while also taking Carapace Armor and like other stuff. But other than that, like, I really don't think it's all that necessary. Tac op options for red side. I'm talking about red side here. We're going into Recon. So we got Recover Item. If I'm taking Recon, we're always taking a Recover Item. It's just a no-brainer pick. We got Secure Vantage. So this spot, and arguably this spot are really, I wouldn't say easy vantage points, but doable. I would say they're doable vantage points. Plant Transponder, I think, is another really good one. So I've kind of laid down these tokens right here. So we have a Transponder token right here that this guy can rush over to do. If really need be, I can have the Medic kind of run over and the Assassin kind of do it, but I'd prefer this guy to try and at least get 1 Transponder down. So we can do there, and then if for some reason this guy miraculously lives, we can just drop the Transponder over here with another play. Another easy, well, I shouldn't say easy Transponder, but another option would be to activate this guy, and he would dash out. Actually, I don't know if I were to set that up, we would probably want him to be within, there we go. So we would have to change his positioning, but he would basically be scrambling across right here. And then, let's see. Maybe I mismeasured that. I don't think. Am I crazy? I think I mismeasured that. It looks like we're just barely tapping. Okay, never mind. We can't put that guy over there. So yeah, this can be kind of a dangerous pick, depending on how much your opponent really enforces this side. We do have a flex pick, though. We have reputation to maintain, right? So reputation to maintain is the Vayne one where she has to kill more. And this one's pretty good. You usually take it when your opponent's not playing a really killy leader. So, looking at like, human type teams, don't use it against like a Chaos Marine champion. You know what I mean? Some guy who's going to be getting like 3 or 4 kills potentially in a game. If you do that, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. So these are the ones that I would be taking for this side. Moving on to scouting options. So there's kind of 2 reasons why I want to be taking Explore. First of all, one of my pregame moves is this guy. And if you see all these lines, so at the moment, all of the red operatives are set up for a end of turn 1 play. So at the end of turning point 1, assuming that I don't have any dudes that are dead, these are where these guys are going to be positioned for turning point 2. Okay? Now, this guy started right here. And then he started with a recon dash here. And then he went 3 and 4 with Undaunted Explorers, which I should copy. Or sorry, New Frontier. Okay, so this is really important. The reason why I did this is this prevents me from spending a CP. I would have to normally spend, what the hell is it called? Lethal proximity, combined arms. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I took the wrong tack up. I had this all prepared for you guys. And I fucked up the strats. Strats are so forgettable sometimes. Okay. So it keeps me from spending a CP on Well Drilled to get +1 APL. Oh my god, I'm so dumb. No. Neither of these is the right strat. Daring. No, I wasn't dumb. Combined arms is a great strat, but we rarely use it. The only time I ever use it really is the Electromeister. Okay, let's try this again. So it keeps me from spending a CP on Daring. So Daring gives me +1 APL, and that would give that guy 3 APL to move dash onto this objective. If we just dash right here, then we just have to simply move. We will be using New Frontier this turn. So we have 7 inches of movement. It just allows this guy to get on that objective and tap it. All right. The other option is Fortify. And this vantage point is so powerful on the red side because it allows me to look down onto this objective and this objective. It allows me to look at flanking positions over here and flanking positions over here. It threatens this spot with assets. So my opponent's going to be like, they would be a complete moron to set stuff up here unless they had a way to negate vantage, because I could just turn 1, drop a cluster bomb right here and just blow up everything, right? So it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to have a guy up here. So to do that, we need to put a barricade up here to keep that guy alive so we can start calling down assets from this area, right? And this guy's going to typically be my designated asset caller for the game, although we can call it in from the other Navis operatives, right? So we need Fortify for that. Another reason why I want these two is I want to control the pace of the game, right? I want to be the one deciding initiative for this turn. So I can look at the board state of my opponent and kind of think about, all right, what scouting option are they picking? Are they going to be going infiltrate? Do they have like a whole bunch of concealed guys? Do they have a big gunner guy here who's in conceal? Okay, well, if they're going infiltrate, maybe I want to take Fortify to win that. And then my explore pick will be this, right? Does it look like they're going to be doing a recon dash over here? Okay, well, if they're doing recon dash, well, if I pick defender, I can't do it. But, like, let's say my opponent picked defender, I'm attacker, then I would take recon, but that was a really bad example. But, like, you know, if I know they're having, like, a sniper here, I can pick recon. So that kind of thing, right? So that's why I want the ability to flex pick this, because we do explore at the end of the scouting step. So I don't have to decide what my explorer scout's going to be before I select what my initial scouting is going to be. So that's what we're going to be doing with that. I think we've pretty much talked about all the stuff going into the turning point. So I want to start at the beginning of the turning point, right? So the main strat we're going to be using this turn is New Frontier. Like I said earlier, this is +1 movement. So this is just going to be helping me position myself into spots where I need to be going into turn 2, right? So I want to talk about this little pocket over here. As you can see, my dog's in engage. Oh, by the way, the dog is not getting the suitcase this game. The suitcase is tucked in right here. This is kind of like an awkward spot for your opponent to get in because it's kind of weird to get in right here. You can't really move in through here unless... I don't even know if a 25 mil base fits in there. No, it doesn't. So your opponent can't really get in here. You can kind of contest it if you're like right here. So that is something you have to watch out for. But if they're putting right there, then you know it is what it is. And obviously getting right here is just not a realistic expectation on turn 1. So you can pretty easily score it. Obviously, I moved this guy because he was we were talking about putting him over here, but he was supposed to be positioned, so he was within 2 of this. So this guy's gonna run up and make sure we're scoring points on that. The dog has a more important mission this game. So the dog is going to be placed in engage in the beginning of the game. As you can see, his movements, he like did a move dash to get here. He started out over here and then went this way. His job is to be providing a charged deterrent. I don't know why that was hard to say. Charged deterrent on these 2 guys, right? If something that's not that scary charges him, I can have the dog do a counter charge, force you to fight the dog, and dog probably still dies, but this guy doesn't die. Then the assassin goes and kills the target, vice versa. I've positioned the assassin in such a way that we can get the dog in right here. So it is impossible to charge this assassin where the dog cannot interrupt and force you to fight the dog. So she's in a very safe position because she has 3 inches of the medic, so she can't be killed with shooting attacks. And then the dog's going to make it so melee attacks are not going to be directed at her. So it's really important. Obviously, the dog's open to flank shots, but as you can see, like, here's the obscure line. So it's actually kind of tricky. Like, I think you'd have to get, like, this far over on the vantage point in order to actually see the dog. And I think at that point, like, you'd probably want to just be shooting the medic anyway. So the dog's pretty safe. Worst case scenario, I could always do a revive on the dog. So this is a really nasty combo. It's something that I don't really see other Starstriders players talking about all that much. Your assassin is the most important person on the team. Pretty much, like, bar none. Like, a lot of people talk about Lucia Vane, the Electromeister, the Voidmaster. Like, they're all damage characters. She's the character on your team that wins games. Okay? She's 3 APL. She's gonna be the one that's killing Nurgle Legionnaires in a single activation. She's gonna be the one that's flipping objectives after killing that Nurgle Legionnaire. You know? There's so much play around her that mastering her is by far the most important thing to do on the team. But anyways, so she's set up for that. Over here, I talked about the Vantage. I talked about why that guy's there. We have the I always call him Lectromeister. He's set up so this guy can do -1 mission action. So what he's going to be doing is he's going to be moving out, because I think a dash wasn't enough to get out here. But he's going to be moving out, tapping that objective, and then dashing back in. And with our move, you should be able to get exactly 1, and then move kind of slightly this way, and then go an inch this way so you can actually move in. And that's how you get him back to there. So he can just do a move dash to get there. And he essentially has 3 APL because of his -1 mission actions. So after he taps that, he's kind of free to go lend fire support to one of these 2 locations. He's a defensive guy, but we have that option. This guy is moving from here into this spot. So this spot potentially could be kind of a dangerous spot if my opponent sets up a vantage spot, especially if they can see through obscuring. However, I need something that's pressuring this objective so I don't just give it to my opponent for free. I have more than enough fire support on this side, so I don't really need to put him over here. And this guy's really tough and doesn't need any support by himself. So I can just throw this guy 3 APL on the objective, flip it, and I think where he's positioned at right now, he can't... like if I were to position him like right there... Can we go... Yep, we could go 7 onto an objective and shoot and flip. So that's a really big power play. So that's why he's there. Over here, we have a Lucia Vane, and we have the rotor cannon. So we'll talk about Lucia Vane in a second. I just want to talk about the rotor cannon. So the rotor cannon positioned right here. God, I'm fucking up my speech now because I'm so tired. Rotor cannon's positioned right here, so he can either dash out and shoot down this lane, or he can dash through the door and shoot over here and provide fire support. So this guy's pretty flexible in what he can get. If I notice my opponent's really putting a lot of guys over here, we'd probably just position myself just to fire out this way. So that's why he's there. Elusive Vane is right here because remember when I talked about somebody positioning their guy right here to contest my objective? Well, something that's really great about Lucia is her guns are indirect. So check this out. If we move out, let's see, is this okay? I'm just trying to see where the angle on this vantage point is. So we would ideally want to be moving out to whatever angle we would need to hit the guy right here. And then because she can perform a free shoot action, she would then immediately dash. Probably to go like somewhere like right here, just to kind of put her in a really safe position. It kind of depends on what opponent I'm playing, but that's the reason why she's an engage and she's right there. She's then meant to counter whatever comes here and tries to contest me, because she's got indirect pistols. Trying to think, what else? Talked about that. All right, so really quickly, I just want to go over and talk about the other side. So the other side's largely the same. We have the Electromeister going over and trying to flip objectives. The other side, we're doing recover item, seize ground, and plant transponder. We have 2 flex picks, seize secure vantage, which I already talked about, and reputation to maintain, which I already talked about. The only new one is seize ground. So my seize ground target, so remember when I talked about blue side having an advantage over here just because red's going to be so focused on this side. This is a really great seize ground target because if you position 2 guys over here, you should be able to hold this and at least have one of these guys survive the turn or the game for another guy to run over and trying to get another 4 or 2 APL onto this objective. So this is a really great seize ground target. especially if you really factor in that the red objectives, and by red I mean the easiest objectives for red player to get, are going to be these two. And there's only one objective over here, where blue has two objectives. So once again, your opponent's really not going to be focusing on this side. So that's why we took C's ground. Now, I have central control scratched out. And you probably are asking, like, well, why wouldn't you want to take central control in this game? Okay? And quite simply, we'll open where central control is. Okay? Look where my assassin is standing. Currently, I'm not in central control. If I wanted to be in central control, now look where my assassin is standing. This is a really dangerous spot for my assassin because I'm no longer -1 damage, right? So she wants to be on objectives. This means she's not in the center, okay? This spot is not a useful spot for me because there's nowhere I can go from this spot without scrambling. Like, it's going to cost me a ton of movement to get her on the other side. We could scramble over and grab an objective, but it's like this spot right here is so easy for your opponent just to move in a model and contest a guy. And realistically, central control you really want your assassin positioning for, because she's the only APL 3 person on the team. So if I position a Navis guy right here, it'd be really easy for pretty much any team to move a single guy over here and contest that. So that's why we don't take central control. Let me just remove this. Some other things to talk about. So this team, we have to play a little bit differently on this side. Our attack position right here for blue side is this objective. Red side is going to be wanting to push in on this objective because it's really easy for them to stage and push in here, because they have the door right here and then they have this little avenue that they can kind of get in. We need to deal with this, right? This is a big kill zone, and this is a big spot on the map that is kind of being denied by this vantage point. So to get around that, I took 2 basic troopers, right? And essentially these troopers are standing like right next to each other, like so. And the idea is we would be doing New Frontier combined with Well Drilled. So Well Drilled allows me to group activate 2 Navis guys. And New Frontier is giving me +1 movement. We would also probably be using Daring. So we're using a lot of CP this turn, but this should be setting us up for a really secure second turn. So this guy would be moving, and he would be the first activation, and he'd be going 7 inches out here and tapping this point with 3 APL with Daring. And then this guy would just be going 1, and then probably like 6 to go right here, and then tapping this objective. So that this combo kind of gets around this being an absolute dead zone. It's not perfect. You know, my opponent could still get first turn and try and get a blast off that would just prevent that. So that would suck, but there's really not much I can do about that. We can kind of negate that by going Explore. And if I'm getting blue, odds are I'm attacker. So it's a little bit easier to try and control who's going first on turning point 1. So I feel pretty safe about this. And so I'd be taking Recon probably to position like one of these guys further up, like maybe like the Death Cult Assassin, or maybe the Void Master, and like try and position for that. And then Infiltrate would be Vayne right here. So if my opponent grabs this early, we could have Vayne flip to engage, move up, and shoot somebody off this, and then the Electro Priest would then run up and grab the objective. So that's the plan there. The other thing is obviously coerce and try and get red side. If my opponent rolls low on the dice, like in this situation, if they roll like a 2 or maybe even a 3, we could do course. Adaptable turns we're gonna need just to get the security tack up, and then coordinate. I would be nice, like maybe they roll a 6 on attacker defender and choose defender and pick that side. Well, I'm not gonna re-roll the dice at that point, so might as well just get 1 CP. So that's what I'm doing with that. As far as positioning goes, the dog would be running up here, grabbing the recover item, picking it up, and immediately dropping it right here. And then ideally we'd be positioning the dog to try and go for vantage if I was taking vantage. Else I could try and contest this over here and just use the dog as like kind of like a pseudo melee operative and keep it close to the assassin, like just in case we want to run interception for her later on. So that's kind of like thinking right here. I'm trying to think if there's like anything else. I think I pretty much talked about everything I want to talk about. So, like I said, I know this is kind of like a convoluted mess. This is not something that's going to happen over a couple games. You're going to reach a stage where you're going to be able to envision this when you look at a map with your team, probably when you have 2 to 3 dozen games with your team. You'll start learning exactly where your operatives are going to shine and where your little like mini teams of guys are going to need to be in order to be the most effective on the map. But I wanted to show you guys just kind of like my inner thinkings of when I'm looking at a map, and especially going into an event. This is what I'm going to be thinking of the first tournament round. Obviously, I'm going to be thinking about it for all the maps, but I'm just going to showcase this map. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something. I'm really excited to get back into playing games, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have really slow internet right now until the 28th. So we're just going to have to bear through it. I'm going to try and get my Command Point games recorded, and I'm going to try to play my Command Point games. And then I've actually spoken with Shane from Command Point, and he said he'd be interested in doing some casting. So we might be doing that. We might be doing some more viewing matches and maybe discussions instead of getting a lot of games in this month, just because I don't have really fast internet at the moment. So bear with me, guys. Anyways, I'm really tired. I've recorded this 3 times now, so I'm going to log off. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And if you want to see more of this content, this is kind of a thing on my channel that I've really started kind of focusing on, is giving people the perspective of what a competitive player is thinking about while they're playing the game. It's something that I don't think you really get when you're watching in real life kill team games, because usually you're talking with your opponent, and as a player you're not going to be saying out loud exactly what you're planning on doing for the next turn while your opponent's standing right there. That's just something you're never going to do, right? And it's weird, like, even if you did that for the purposes of making, like, an educational kill team video, it's like that's still going to influence your opponent's decision making upon hearing that, right? Whereas if I'm recording this while playing TTS, my opponent obviously can't hear what I'm recording. So it just gives you guys a really good perspective of exactly what I'm thinking about. So I have a lot of fun talking about this. Honestly, I could talk about Kill Team all day long, and I usually talk too much in my game, and that's why we have 3-hour videos, and that's why this video is 40 minutes long. So I'm going to stop rambling here. Hope you like it. Probably doing more of this in the future. I'll see you guys next time.